Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 39 of Wind Down Wednesday. I mention a lot of times that I set up a crystal grid for anytime I do work, anytime I do these meditations, anytime I work with a client, if I'm doing Zoom work. Especially, I feel that it's important to have those crystals there, and that kind of holds the space for both me and my client or the group, whatever I'm working with. I set up a grid every week when I do my chakra class. And tonight I can really feel these crystals kind of coming up and activating my root and then activating the rest of my energetic field and my chakras. And it just feels so delicious and amazing. And I wanted to share that with you. And maybe sometimes I share a picture of the grid the next day on social media. So since I mentioned it, I will share a picture tomorrow of what my grid looks like today, because it's just extra special tingly for me. So tonight we are going to talk about contraction and expansion. And we've been talking a lot about what amounts to contraction for the past probably 2 months on Wind Down Wednesday. We've been talking about struggle and shadow work, and all of that is contraction. So fear is a contractor. I say this a lot. Fear is a contractor and love is an expander. And when we start confronting our fears, when we start looking at old traumas or beliefs that we carry that no longer serve us, which is what I've been in this journey of, and if you've seen the last several episodes, then you'll know what I'm talking about, and feel free to go back and watch those, but you don't need to know all that detail to be up to speed on tonight's show. But when we start confronting our fears, it leads us into this period of contraction while we're working to bring love to this shadow side, while we're working to grow through releasing some old beliefs, releasing old traumas. And it's difficult. It's difficult work. But what comes after contraction is expansion. And sometimes after we come out of a period of struggle, we expect a big, amazing expansion. I know that I do. I'm definitely guilty of this. And, so it's not just like we've been in this dark tunnel and there's a light at the end of the tunnel and we come out and it's like, okay, I'm out. Sometimes we expect to come out of that tunnel into this amazing, grandiose vision of paradise. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes after a period of contraction, we do have this ultimate expansion and everything starts feeling really big and open and amazing, and we feel that abundance of joy. Sometimes that happens after a contraction, but sometimes it doesn't. It's not always that way. And so what I want to talk about tonight is recognizing that there is expansion, even if it's not that humongous, amazing expansion that maybe we've come to expect and that we've come to treasure. That's one of the rewards of this spiritual work, is when you reach that point of, oh yes, I've really grown and I've expanded and it's so amazing. But the contraction always comes back. And that's how this work is. So I'm going to I like to use metaphor just to kind of make things easier to understand sometimes. Sometimes this work is really abstract. And so using a concrete example can kind of help us understand that more abstract nature of what we're talking about. So I like to look at spiritual work as a birthing process. And, so when you're in labor, you're contracting, and then the contraction releases and there's a little opportunity for expansion, but oh no, then you're contracting again, and then you're expanding, and then you're contracting and expanding. And the actual physical process of that is what births a child from the uterus. The actual physical contraction of the uterus and release, and contraction and release, is what moves that baby down and out through the birth canal. And then, there's that amazing expansion that comes at the end of that birthing process. And then we do it again. That's how this work goes. And we birth one thing, and then we move into birthing something else. And then that period of labor kind of starts all over again. And so sometimes after a period of struggle, of contraction, Our expansion looks less like that final, oh, I've birthed this and it's so amazing, and more like those little breaks in between the contractions of labor, where it's like, oh, whew, okay, the pain stopped. Okay, all right, let me gather myself. That was really hard, but the pain is gone. But we don't necessarily recognize that as an expansion. And when we don't, we're missing an opportunity to move fully into that experience as expansion. So it's not that grandiose expansion, but there's opportunity for expansion there, but we have to have awareness. We have to bring awareness to this opportunity to expand. And how do we do that? We do that with presence. And that's what we're going to work on tonight in our meditation. So I found myself in this space. And again, I've talked a lot about kind of the struggle and the contraction that I've been in. And then I talked a little bit about how I finally let go of that struggle. And then I was a little bit in that place that I just mentioned where it was like, oh, okay, like the pain stopped, but if you've ever been through actual labor, the pain's coming back. And even if you haven't, I've never been through labor, but I've been in situations like that. I've had health situations or physical situations where there's a pain and then it lets up, and then there's a pain and then it lets up. And so sometimes when the pain lets up, we're so focused on the fact that it's going to come back that we don't expand into that moment of rest, that moment of expansion that we have an opportunity to stretch ourselves into, to invite love back into, because it's like, oh, I was in fear and I was contracted and it's going to happen again and I don't know. So I was a little bit in that space. I was feeling much better, and I started kind of, the way I figured out that I was in expansion, that I had the opportunity to expand even further, was that I noticed I was enjoying the present moment much more. I wasn't focused on the past and releasing what I had been working to release quite so much. I wasn't worried about the future and how is this going to go and am I ever going to get through this? I wasn't in that. I was finally back in the present moment. I was finally back in flow. I was finally hooking back into my intuition. And this is expansion. That is the definition of expansion. Being in the present moment, being open to intuitive guidance, inviting that unconditional love to flow through. And the interesting thing that I noticed, the amazing thing that I noticed, is that once I finally acknowledged that I was in expansion, first of all, I acknowledged it, I brought awareness to it, the expansion expanded even more. So that's amazing. But the other thing I noticed was that as I looked back at this period of struggle that just seemed like a dark, contracted, blah, I was like, oh, but wait, this happened. And I was really in the flow in this particular area. I was really hooked into my intuition. And this beautiful, amazing thing just kind of unfolded, even in a period of contraction. And I mentioned, I think that was last week, that I got a new job and it sort of just came out of nowhere. And the whole thing was very effortless in how it unfolded. But I wasn't really enjoying it because I was still kind of in that struggle and that contraction and kind of not trusting what was happening. But now that I'm out and I have this opportunity to rest in between contractions, I can look back and notice, oh, even in that contraction, there was an opportunity for expansion. And that's the most, it gives me goosebumps. It's such an amazing awareness to have. Even in that darkest time, when we're confronting that darkness, when we're in the fear, when we're in the contraction, there are still these beautiful moments of expansion. And we might not appreciate them until we get into that break. Oh, okay, the pain is gone and I can think again and I can pay attention again. And what did I miss? What did I miss when I was in that contracted state, when I wasn't able to really be present and focus because all I could think about was the pain? I missed expansion. And when we focus on expansion, we bring more expansion. So even in a contracted period, even in confronting fear, we can invite expansion in. And that's what we're going to do in our meditation tonight. So that's the trick. That's the magic of this work. We remain in this cycle of birthing over and over and over again. The contraction and then the release, and the contraction and the release, and the contraction and the release. And eventually, I birthed a book. That process was very much a labor of love. It was the and the and the and the which on the podcast, if you can, when you listen to the podcast later, it just sounds like I'm making noises, but I'm kind of clenching my fist and then releasing my hand and clenching and releasing. And we do this over and over again, and we birth the most beautiful and amazing things over and over again. And we can get really discouraged in that process because the contraction is really painful and it's difficult. But if we start to look for the expansion, even in the contraction, and we start to appreciate and become aware of the expansion that comes in those rests between contractions, then the whole process becomes smoother and there's less struggle overall. And that's what this spiritual growth journey is about. And something that maybe took me years to work through 20 years ago when I started this journey, or 20 plus years ago, maybe now I get through this in a couple months. And maybe in 10 years, I'll get through it in a couple days. And maybe in 10 more years, I'll get through it instantly. And that's the goal. The goal is instant processing, is to spiritually process everything, is to stay in flow as much as we can, and to be easy with ourselves about it. That's the other thing. When you're in that contraction, when you're in that fear, it's so easy to beat yourself up, even more than we usually do. And, what are you doing? And you need to be expanded. And that's not what I'm talking about here when I'm saying look for the expansion and the contraction. I'm talking about awareness. I'm talking about presence. I'm talking about noticing that even in that struggle, there's beautiful things that come along. And we might not be able to see it when we're in the struggle. We may have to get to that point of break, that point of rest, that point of expansion. But I really wanted to bring some awareness to this idea that expansion doesn't necessarily mean hallelujah. It's not finding the valley at the end of the land of time, which is a super random reference that I know a few people will get. It's not stumbling into Shangri-La always. Sometimes it is, and we live for those moments and we love those moments. But sometimes it's just noticing the pain is gone. The struggle has let up. I can breathe again. I can look around and see the beauty in my surroundings again. I can feel the beauty of these amazing gifts from the earth, these crystals, these stones that were supporting me the whole time, but I wasn't able to connect with it when I was in that contraction. And it's okay. The contraction is what allows for the birth. Without the contraction, the baby doesn't come. Whatever we're birthing, it can't come without that contraction and expansion. And it's a natural process. And when we relax into it and we let go of our self-judgment, oh, you're in fear. I just said to someone today, I'm not supposed to get depressed. I'm a spiritual person. And she just busted out laughing because it's absurd. Everybody gets depressed. Everybody has periods of contraction. We are human beings. That is part of the human experience. No matter how evolved you are, there are periods of contraction there. But being easy with ourselves about it and knowing that the expansion will come again and knowing that the work is worth it and knowing that you're worth doing this work, that's what makes the whole thing worth it. That's what makes the whole thing so beautiful. That's what's making me tear up right now because I am in awe, in the true sense of the word, of the beauty of this process of being alive and growing and contracting and expanding and eventually birthing whatever leads us to the next level and allowing all of it to happen for our highest good, holding that intention throughout the entire process and having faith that we are supported and that we are loved. Whew. So let's meditate. Begin, as we always do, with 3 deep oxytocin breaths. Really fill your belly as you breathe in, and then sigh it out with that audible ha sound. We're going to spend much of the meditation tonight really coming into the present moment. I'm going to slow down the steps we usually take to begin a meditation, to get grounded, to get present. And we're really going to savor coming into the moment. So set the intention right now to release anything that happened up to this moment, anything that happens after this moment. And if you need breaks, take breaks. If you need to get up and move around, listen to your intuition, but challenge yourself to come back to the present moment as often as you can. And this will prepare you for that invitation of expansion that we're going to call in at the end of the episode, at the end of the meditation. So very gently, with intention, imagine the top of your head gently opening, that crown chakra expanding, and invite that beautiful light of unconditional love, of divine energy to flow in through the top of your head. Feel this light trickle down the sides of your head into your scalp and your ears and your jaw. Let this beautiful energy come through the skull and into your brain, flooding your brain with light and love, releasing some of that mental energy that you've been carrying around for so long, even if it's just for the next few moments. Let this beautiful light and energy flow into your face. Let it come into your throat and your neck. Take a nice deep breath into the neck and the upper shoulders here and sigh it out, releasing some of that extra energy you've been carrying in these areas, allowing this love and light to flow into the shoulders and the upper arms. Really slowly feel this, almost like a warm liquid flowing down your upper arms and into your elbows, into your forearms and wrists, into your hands. Bring your hands together and let this light warm the palms of your hands. Feel that warmth grow as you hold your hands together, letting this beautiful love and light flow through the head and into the arms and hands, and now bringing it into the chest. You can bring your hands to your chest if you'd like, directing this amazing, powerful light and love into the heart space, the physical heart, the energetic heart, the ribs and sternum, the shoulder blades. Really let this energy come into this space, Bring your mind into this space and breathe as you need to, letting go of tension, letting go of anything you've been holding on to that you no longer need to grasp. Any contraction that you're ready to release and expand. Let this energy, this light, this love flow into your belly. Let it come into all the organs here that keep your body functioning without you even being aware of it. This miracle of life that goes on within us when we're not even paying attention. Bring that light, that energy into the belly. You can place your hands on the belly if you'd like. Let it come into the back, down the spinal column. Letting it flow again like honey down into the lower part of the abdomen. You can bring your hands down there if you'd like, into your tailbone. Really bringing your awareness now into the pelvis. Taking a few deep breaths here as you'd like. And as you breathe out, sending this excess energy, anything you've collected thus far, let it just flow out from the pelvis and down into the earth where it will be recycled for the highest good. Let this beautiful light, this golden honey, flow into your thighs. You can use your hands very slowly and slide them down the thighs, bringing that awareness, bringing that love down toward the knees. And again, taking a few deep breaths here, bringing that energy all the way in through the head and the torso and the pelvis and the legs, and then sighing it out down into the earth where it will be recycled for the highest good. Bringing that awareness, allowing that flow of energy into the knees now, taking a few more breaths here in the same way, drawing that energy down through the head into the body and sighing it down into the earth. Letting that flow continue into the lower legs, the shins and the calves and the ankles and the feet. Really let your awareness come into the lower body. Don't just be mentally aware that you have a body down there. Use your hands if you need to. Really bring your awareness to the physical body here, to the legs, to the knees, to the ankles and feet. Imagine your feet in a beautiful piece of earth, whether that's a dark, fertile soil or sand. Just imagine that you're standing on the earth in a place that calls to you, in a place you feel connected to. Maybe it's your energetic sanctuary. And take 3 more deep breaths here, drawing that energy all the way in through the head and down through the neck and the chest and the belly and the pelvis and the legs. And then sighing it all down into the earth, letting that energy be recycled for the highest good, inviting that dark earth energy to come up into your feet, into your root, into that base of the spine. And taking 1 or 2 more deep breaths into any remaining areas of tension in the body. Sighing it out. Releasing as you need to. You notice I'm clearing my throat a little bit. That's a sign of energetic release. Let that happen. If you start to cry or laugh, let that happen. If you need to cough, let that happen. just letting yourself come fully present into the body here. And now, bringing your energetic sanctuary here, if it isn't already, if you're not familiar with that, just imagine that you're in the most beautiful space you can imagine. This is your special space. No one is allowed here unless you invite them. You are completely safe in this space. You are completely connected to your physical body, but also to the spiritual realm that this space exists in. And let yourself just come present here. Look around. Notice how beautiful it is. Notice how this is the perfect space for you. And this space may change from week to week or even moment to moment, and let that happen. Let your intuition guide you into the perfect experience of this space for you in this moment, in this present moment. Not the way it was yesterday or 2 minutes ago, or the way it will be in 5 minutes. Let yourself come into this present moment, into your sanctuary, as it supports you right now. Continue to breathe deeply as you're called to. And as you're ready, invite expansion into your body and into this space. And let that expansion take whatever form it comes in today. Don't have expectations about the grandiosity, the amazingness of this expansion, because you may miss the beauty of the expansion that's available to you today. Let go of the expectation of what this expansion looks like, of how it's experienced, and just invite expansion in, and then listen and notice. See what happens here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ah, whoa, whoa, whoa. Notice how your body feels in whatever form your expansion takes today. Maybe you notice nothing, and that's okay. This is just a no judgment zone. This is just an invitation. Maybe you feel just the slightest lessening of tension in your neck and shoulders. Maybe your mind is slowing down a little bit. Really notice any tiny little change and appreciate that it's really a vast change. Maybe you felt anxious when we started and now you feel calmer. Celebrate that shift. Let this expansion continue to develop in your space. Stay aware and awake and notice any little shifts in your body, any little shifts in your mind space, any little shifts in your emotional space. Maybe you're receiving intuitive information here. Maybe your highest self has come to give you a hug. Maybe somebody else you love has come into this expanded state, this space that you've opened for them. Let yourself really enjoy this. Let go of judgments that may arise. Don't worry about whether you're doing this right. There's no right or wrong here. And as I said that, feel the shift in your body from just hearing, there's no right or wrong here. There's no wrong way to do this. And feel the shift in your body just hearing those words, or in your heart, or in your mind. Everything you are doing in this moment is perfect and is meant for you now. And if you're called to release anything, let yourself let it go. Let yourself experience that release, whether it comes in an emotional form or a physical form. Whether your body is reacting, let go of anything that no longer serves you in this moment. Invite further expansion into the space that opens up when you let go of even the tiniest little bit. Even a single thought creates infinite space, limitless space for expansion, for joy, for love, for that divine energy to fill. And this is a cascade, this is a domino effect. As we open space for expansion, we're encouraged to open more space for more expansion. Even in contraction, even if you're in contraction now, there's even the tiniest space you can open for expansion. Maybe it's just the letting up of that pain that you've been in. That is expansion. And in the last few moments here, continue to release as you're called to. Invite any intuitive information to come to you here. If a loved one has come to you, if your highest self has come to you, let yourself be present with them. Fully present. Let your dog come into the room and be present with them too. Be in this moment. Whatever it looks like for you, whatever the experience is for you, let it be perfect. Let it be. Let it go. I open to love. I allow myself to expand. I let go of judgment. And I expand. Allow yourself a few last moments in this space, in this expansion. Take a few more deep breaths. And let your final deep breath be very, very deep. Draw that energy again down all the way through the head and the chest and the belly and the pelvis. And and sigh it down through the legs and the feet and back into the earth for recycling. Invite your highest good in to all areas of your life. Say it out loud if you can. I invite my highest good into all areas of my life. And as you're ready, if you'd like, you can very gently allow that crown chakra to close. Maybe just a little, maybe all the way, maybe you leave it open for the highest good. And once more, bring your awareness through this expanded space within your body now, through the head and your brain, through your neck and throat, through your chest and your back, through your belly and your low back, through your hips and your pelvis, through your upper legs and your knees, through your lower legs and your feet, through your arms and your hands. Gently bring your hands to your heart here and affirm with me out loud. I allow myself to find expansion in every moment. I release my judgments of myself and my contractions. I am open to love in all areas of my life. Take one more deep breath, sigh it out. Let yourself come into the body one last time, fully in your body, fully in this moment, before you move on, before you start to think about what happens next. Wiggle your fingers, rotate your wrists, rotate your ankles, maybe even rotate your torso a little bit. Move your arms, circle your shoulders. Maybe turn your head from side to side. Really come fully present into the body and take your time. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Ooh. I saw my little beagle buddy, who I haven't seen for a long time, in my space. And it just filled my heart with joy. I hope you had an expansive experience tonight. Even if it was just the tiniest expansion, that's still an expansion. And there's so much space there when we pause to come present into that space. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have a wonderful rest of your night, a beautiful rest of your week. Stay expanded as much as you can, and don't judge yourself if you can't. And I will see you next week for our very special 40th episode of Wind Down Wednesday.